Hello, I'm Mathieu from Ludovox, and today I'm going to give you an overview of Outlive. So Outlive is a worker placement game and also a management game for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up, and it plays for around 20 minutes per player, 25 minutes per player, so maximum an hour and a half. So in this game, we are survivors from a nuclear blast, and we try to survive 6 days until a caravan passes and takes the most prosperous tribe. So we want to be the most prosperous tribe by having the best shelter, having the most equipment, the most survivors, that kind of thing. So we play Outlive with our personal board, and we start with a leader who gives us some equipment and some asymmetric start, and also some tiles. So the building tiles are drawn, and there's a bit of randomness in them, but not too much. And we also have heroes here. So these hero meeples, are basically the way to perform actions on the board. And these get us resources to perform actions in our shelter. So the game plays in 2 phases, day and night. During day, we are going to make our meeples move around the board and perform actions. So for example, I take a bent meeple, a laid out meeple, I just straighten it because it wakes up, and I move it by at least 1 square to 2 squares maximum, and then I can perform an action. So you may notice the number of on the meeple here. So this means that this meeple can perform 4 actions, it has 4 strength, so this is basically an indicator of the efficiency of the meeple. So I go to the forest, and then I can take 4 resources, 1 per action. So this is really basic, and then I put them in my storage. Then another player will take another turn, and he can, for example, use this meeple, this 5 meeple, to come on my square, and as I am weaker, that meeple can intimidate mine, and that means that I have to give resources to him. So I might give up 1 wood because he intimidates me, and then he may perform his actions. Once every meeple has moved, we move on to the night phase. But first, let me explain what we do on the board. So mostly we collect resources. So we collect metal, electronic chips, wood, water, bullets. So the bullets allow us to hunt or to resist intimidation. Hunting is done on these locations, and we can get food, but it's temporary food that we get with hunting. And we also have canned food, which doesn't rot, and we get survivors and the first player token here. And additionally, we can get equipment, so with these tiles, and random resources with these stacks here. So basically, we collect resources on the day phase, and on the night phase, we spend them and we do stuff. So before I move on to the night phase, I have to talk about the events. They are very important, and they give a tempo to the game. So every turn you're going to reveal 1. So I reveal the first one because it's the first turn, and at the beginning of every day phase, you're going to apply the effects of the event. So for example, this one is an Ice Age, and it kills a survivor, so a survivor token, in each shelter. And they are all negative, they are crises to be resolved. And that's the first thing to do in the night phase. What you do in the night phase is first try to solve events. So every player, starting with the starting player, may or may not resolve the event by paying resources. If you pay resources to resolve the event, you take it, it gives you victory points. If you don't, it stays. And this means that they can add up and produce more and more bad effects on the game. So let's imagine I take it. Then we move on to giving food to the survivors. So the survivors drink water, eat meat and canned food. And the more survivors you have in different rooms, the more food you pay. So you have to manage closely, otherwise they just die and you have to remove them from your shelter. Then you handle radiation. So radiation is given through the game and through game events, and if it increases too much, you might lose victory points or even kill survivors, because radiation kills survivors. Then you will be able to recruit survivors, and last but not least, you will be able to build. So building is very simple. In a sense, you just spend resources such as wood, metal, or chips, and you're going to flip these room tiles, or you can move these equipment tiles to the other side of the board. So the room tiles are going to give you special powers, but they are management powers. The equipment tiles, on the other hand, will give you powers on this board. For example, the jerrycan here allows me, when I go to the barrage, the dam, I can get 1 more water. So for example, if I went there with a 3 meeple, instead of getting 3 water, I would get 4. So as you may notice, the resources are very spare and scarce on the board. Once I take those, they are no longer here, they are gone, so I have to manage my priorities. I have to say, okay, I want chips really badly, so I want chips, I need to get them as soon as possible, because if the other player just, for example, I'm orange, if the other player moves his 4 here, I get only 2 left, so it's not very good for me. So I need to manage that gathering order. So once we have done this night phase, we move on to the next day phase. We replenish the supplies here, we flip another event, and then we continue playing with another day phase. The game ends after 6 turns, so 6 days. We do a last night phase, and then the game ends with scoring. So basically, you need the most survival points. And survival points are the number of survivors in your shelter, the number of rooms that you've built, which give you points according to a scheme, but also the equipment that you've repaired, and finally the events that you've resolved. The one with the most survival or victory points wins. And that's it. You have that game, which is at some point worker placement and at some point management. And in the worker placement, you have that interaction, that tempo, which is very important. You have interaction with blocking other people by taking more resources, or by intimidating also. You know almost everything about Outlive, so see ya!